Narcissists feel more sympathy for other abusers than they do for actual victims. So it can be a bit confusing to a person that is around the narcissist. And I have several examples. I was bringing up to my narcissist friend who put the other narcissist, male relationship around me, that this person was abusive, and he was sitting there defending the friend. He was like, oh, we've been friends for so many years. Like he actually sat there and defended the friend, but felt absolutely not a shred of sympathy for the fact that I was saying that this person was abusive. So it makes you start to feel like you're in the twilight zone. You're like, am I crazy? And that's the whole idea, because that's what they want. He's obviously could not say, he couldn't agree that the person was abusive, even though he knows the person is abusive, because he specifically and purposely put the person around me to torture me while he was out with other victims. You know what I'm saying? Like he was finding people to abuse. His friend was finding people to abuse. So he stuck him around me so he could kind of like take care of me while the other guy is out finding other victims. I mean, it's just total sickness. Like, it's a complete agenda of evil, and they all work together. So if you bring up any red flags to any of them, I mean, you can't do that because they're all in on it. They're all in on it, and they're all on the same team. So you have to just get rid of the whole gang. I mean, this was obviously before I knew. I was putting the pieces of the puzzle together, but I was unsure. I knew the other guy was a narc because he wasn't as good at it. Like, he gave himself away pretty quickly. But the friend I had been talking to for 4 years and never gave any sign of anything until he put this guy around me. Once I started figuring everything out, when you start figuring stuff out and pointing it out to the narc friend, let's just say, they start to unravel. Because he couldn't, like, he was noticing I was picking up on stuff, and then he started to come undone because he just couldn't get all his lies together, because I was putting it all together, and I kept bringing up stuff to him and pointing things out like that weren't making sense. And then by him trying to defend himself, was giving himself away. So the whole thing starts to unravel when you start picking up on their lies and you start pointing it out. They start to unravel. But my point is that it's completely ironic that they will sit there and see absolutely nothing wrong with an abusive person, but yet they will feel no sympathy whatsoever for a victim. But he'll sit there and go, oh, well, he's been my friend for years. He's always been a good friend. I'm like, huh? I'm telling you, this person is abusive. And they see not a shred wrong with that because they are also abusive. And another thing happened with another guy. I had another guy messaging me, and I was telling the narc friend, because we were just friends. Like, he would tell me about girls and stuff, and I would tell him about different guys. And I was telling him, oh, this guy is sending me like creepy messages at 3 in the morning. And then this guy started telling me like this story about he caught his girlfriend with another guy, and something like she was giving him fellatio and he backhanded her. And so I went back and I'm telling the narc friend about this story. I'm like, he's told me like he physically assaulted some girl, his ex-girl. And so, I delete and block this guy from social media. I'm like, oh, what a creep. He's violent. He assaulted a female. And I'm thinking, this is crazy. Like, what a weirdo. And the guy had been like messaging me weird messages and stuff in the middle of the night. And so I'm telling the narc friend, he didn't, I mean, we kind of laughed about it, but he didn't delete the guy. Like, he kept the guy around. So I just, in hindsight, thinking back on it, it's like, he probably didn't see any problem with that, because all narcs are misogynists and they hate women anyway. So he didn't go and delete the guy and say, oh, he's an abusive to female. He just kept the guy around like nothing of it. Like, he didn't think anything of it. And so, I mean, I understand that, like, if someone didn't do something to you, you don't have to, like, if you have two friends and one person offends one friend, but they never did anything to you, I would keep them around too. But this was a situation, I mean, that was pretty extreme. This wasn't just like a minor offense, this was like he actually assaulted a female, and that's a rather violent, I mean, but thinking back on it, I just don't think he thought any big thing about that. Like, he didn't think that was I mean, he is abusive himself, so why would he get offended about other abusive people? And so these are things that may seem minute at the time, and that's why I bring up some personal stories, because at the time they might seem minute, but everything the narc does is like, has a reason, it's, sometimes you don't pick up on it until after you get away, because then you're able to clear everything out and look at things in a clear way without all the crazy confusion and the narc sitting there lying and, lying to you and trying to confuse you more. So anyway, my point is, they see nothing wrong with abusive people, but yet they have all these victims that they treat terribly, and yet they see no problem with that whatsoever. So it's a complete dichotomy of thought and the way they treat different people. Like, why do they treat the victim this way, but yet they are able to control not abusing their friend or someone like that, Oh, well, because they want them all on the team. They can all work in unison to hurt as many people as possible. So as long as they're also hurting people, they want them on the team. They want them as part of the team. And so they can go out and destroy more people. You know what I'm saying? So it's all just total sickness. I mean, that would be like me if someone told me they were a rapist, okay, would I continue to hang out with them? I would be like, this person is nuts. I don't want nothing to do with them. Any empath would get the hell away from them. They would be like, oh my God, I want nothing to do with that person. Well, a narcissist, would see absolutely nothing wrong with it. They would hang out with the person. You know, they have no problems with abusers at all. That's perfectly fine to them. And that's why you start to feel like you're in the twilight zone, because it's completely backwards from what you or me would do. It just makes no sense. We would never align ourselves with an evil person. We would get as far away from them as possible. So it's just something to pick up on, and if you see anyone doing that, get away from them as fast as possible. If they have no problem with someone mistreating someone else in any way, if it's a crime, if it's illegal, if it's just a minor, mistreatment, any kind of mistreatment at all, just get away from the person. They are not a good person.